Hi, I'm Henry Herring. Like most people, I'm at a loss for words after witnessing the killing of George Floyd. I don't know anyone in my circle, including law enforcement, who's not troubled by Mr. Floyd's death. In the coming weeks and months, we will continue to experience feelings of anger, anxiety, and a foreboding sense our country and our cities are lost. I think it's incumbent upon our leaders to encourage calmness, a sense of hope, and to act in a thoughtful and deliberate fashion to promote these goals. Like others in Sacramento, I have extreme anxiety around the current push by some council members to chop $10 million out of our police budget. I understand the idea of cutting police resources is popular in some segments. I get it. But my expectation of a council member in a time of crisis is for them to be skillful, practical, and thoughtful. In this moment, our leaders must not succumb to the energy of rage. So I'm making a direct plea to those on the council and incoming council members to not take an axe to our police budget, and to suggest that a scalpel is the more appropriate tool if cuts are really needed. I've spent the better part of my adult life protecting others and providing the critical public service of law enforcement around the Sacramento area. I want to share some of my views around the issue of cutting the police budget using my experiences as a backdrop. First, to take an axe to the police budget, you must turn a blind eye to a known and horrible reality that Sacramento is recognized as number 2 in national ranking for human trafficking. Ironically, as people of color call for cuts to police budgets, it is my experience that poverty and broken homes push many of our girls of color into the streets and the waiting claws of violent pimps who will not stop abusing them without law enforcement intervention. I and other officers have worked hard over the years. We risked our lives to bring these men to justice. The Sacramento Bee reported in February of 2020 that Ja'Cory Rashawn Carter, age 24, was convicted in federal court this week on 2 counts of sex trafficking, one of them involving a child in Sacramento County and other locations throughout California. So I want each council member to strongly consider this class of victims as you prepare to chop into the police budget. Second, I've spoken at City Council about the serious problem of getting witnesses to come forward or help identify suspects or persons of interest. In many cases, law enforcement cannot build good cases without witnesses. In my experience, some of the intelligence we get from citizens goes a long way to help create effective strategies to combat crime and deploy officers more efficiently. The willingness of citizens to share what they know comes with a sense that the police will respond quickly to their calls for help. And it involves an inherent belief that the citizens will be protected from retaliation. Budget cuts may cause longer response times to calls for service and a decrease in visible police presence. Inevitably, confidence in the police will decline along with the citizens' willingness to share what they know. This will not be good for poor neighborhoods. I want to paint a picture of what I see as Sacramento's perfect storm of crime problems. Our city has worked to make itself a destination spot for travel. We're expanding the regional airport and increasing hotel capacity. We kept our professional basketball team, and our quest for a professional soccer team is almost here. We often hold Saturday night events in our downtown area to promote business income and a social experience for our citizens and others who travel here. We invite large numbers of people into our city, causing a temporary population swell and more demands on a thinly staffed police department. I believe Sacramento's crime problems had an added dimension beyond that of many other cities. I've spoken about this crime at city council meetings and at board of supervisors meetings. Law enforcement had the added challenge of policing the city, which sits along Interstate 5 and Highway 99. These 2 corridors are notorious for drug transportation on the West Coast. And Sacramento sits in a location identified by the feds as a high-intensity drug trafficking area. All of these create a perfect storm of crime for Sacramento that includes drug dealing, violent crime, the growth of gangs with foreign ties, and street crimes that include the horrible practice of prostitution. I must add that I don't want to see budget cuts cause a reduction in staffing that must be cured by an increased use of overtime. Many on the council are aware of the toll past mandatory overtime shifts took on officers. Additionally, Sacramento is in the top ranks for growth of California cities. This puts more demands on our police department. Plus, we cannot hide from the reality that terrorist action from foreign or homegrown players is a challenge the police must be ready for now and into the foreseeable future. We need look no further than the neighboring county of Santa Cruz for validation of this reality. Just last week, on June 6 of 2020, an American terrorist who was a member of our own military used guns and explosives to ambush Santa Cruz County Sheriff's deputies. He killed one officer and wounded two others. Our police departments must be ready for a variety of dangerous challenges. Moreover, law enforcement must continue a strong fight against gangs, some of which have strong ties to very dangerous foreign players. For example, we've known since 2008, according to the U.S. Department of Justice, that the Mexican drug trafficking organizations are, quote, strengthening their relationship with U.S.-based Hispanic street gangs and prison gangs and involving them in their drug trafficking operations, end quote. I'll conclude by saying that when I drive back to Sacramento, returning home and see the skyline, I see a village of hope, a place we can shape into more opportunities for housing, education, and freedom from crime. A place the world can look at and seek to emulate as an example of American excellence. But my vision of our city cannot happen if citizens are not safe, if crime wins out as it has done in other countries. If in this moment of crisis, our leaders give in to anger and doubt about our mission as a city and make rash decisions in a moment of frustration. I hope each council member will respect the fight law enforcement officers have worked and died for in an ongoing effort to make our city a safer place. I want the council to consider the victims of crime. And lastly, if you must make cuts to law enforcement, use a scalpel and not an axe.